Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another developer Q&A video for Eve Echoes. Every week, the developers of Eve Echoes take 4 questions that have been posed by the community, answer them, and then post that response to the Eve Echoes official Twitter account at Eve Echoes. Now, I know that not everyone here has access to Twitter or wants access to Twitter, so each week I go through these responses, I read the questions and the answers, and I talk about what I feel that means for the future of Eve Echoes. It's sort of like a thoughts and opinions piece. Now, there is a playlist of a load of these if you want to get an idea of other things that may be coming to Eve Echoes, at some point in the future. Do check that out, and do also make sure that you are heading into the description at the end of this video. There is a link there where you can ask a question yourself. You pose a question to the developers, and if yours is chosen to be answered, not only do you get the answer, not only do you get featured in one of my awesome videos, but you also get a month of Omega, which personally I think is really awesome. Anyway, hit like, subscribe to the channel, ding the notification bell, tap it to all, and check out our Patreon and Redbubble merchandise store. That all said, let's jump into this week's developer Q&A for the week of the 21st to 27th of July. Crikey, we are so close to August already, it's unbelievable. With the Arena update coming up in August, will there also be a replay system for arenas, maybe even with a free cam, so that you can analyse your battles and learn from what worked and what didn't to help you improve as a better player? Melos responds, what we're about to release is the first mode in a series of new gameplay modes. We will consider adding features like joining as a team, replaying battles, and spectator mode in the future. So there we have it, the arena mode, what we know about it so far, or rather what I'm allowed to say about it so far that's public knowledge, is that it is a 10v10 mode where ship loss is not permanent. And we now know that this is going to you can't join up as a team for it. There's going to be no replay and no spectator mode at the moment, but it looks like those things are possibly on the cards to be added in the future, along with other gameplay modes. The other gameplay modes, I don't know, could be things like 3v3, 5v5, maybe even 1v1 and, solos like that. Just the 10v10 is the one that we are starting with. This is faction warfare, and it's very different to how faction warfare works in EVE Online, so I'm not going to go into it here. But again, I am super excited to be able to talk about this, hopefully sometime soon. I do keep bugging Joseph and saying, is the embargo up yet? Can I keep talking? Can I keep talking? But in fairness, we do have the anniversary stream this weekend. I'll put some information on screen now. Make sure you are watching that. It's going to be 3 o'clock in the morning on Sunday for me. I don't know what that will work out to in your time, but do make sure to check it out. There is a whole load of awesome stuff due to be announced and revealed in that video. I think we'll hear a lot about Arena. We've got the new Eve Echoes anniversary theme song, which is an absolute banger. We'll find out a lot more of the stuff coming in that update, including things like relic and data sites. I'm super hype. August genuinely looks to be like the biggest month for Eve Echoes since the game launched. But anyway, here we are. They will be adding considering adding features like joining as a team, replaying battles, and spectator mode in the future. There's going to be other modes added to Arena after it launches. The next question. Are there rigs that increase tracking speed and explosion velocity? Now, there is one already for explosion velocity, I think, isn't there? There's like one that reduces the increases the explosion velocity or reduces explosion radius, one of the two, I don't remember which. That'd be very helpful in making interceptors more balanced without actually nerfing the ships themselves. Whoa! Stop! If we're talking about interceptors and you're saying, well, maybe we shouldn't nerf them, I have to stop you right there. Interceptors are insanely powerful. Like an interceptor, it's right there in the name. The job of an interceptor is to be fast, difficult to hit, and to basically intercept and lock down a target. They are not destroyers. They are not assault vessels. They are interceptors. They are designed purely as a tackle role. The fact that they are more damaging than several things like destroyers, and they have all that survivability is just too much. The fact is, the reason you see so many interceptors out there is because there's no alternative. Once you hit Tech 10 as a frigate pilot, what the heck else are you going to fly? Like, literally, the 4 interceptors in the game, the Tech 10 Tech 2 interceptors, They are the best frigates in the game. Like, they outshine the faction frigates, for crying out loud, for the most part, which is just insane. They're more survivable, they're faster, they're cheaper, they do more DPS than most of them. It's literally only the sort of the up-the-sleeve tricks that make the faction frigates even remotely worthwhile. And of course the Worm, because it's the only one that isn't outright, you know, replaced by a frigate, by an interceptor. There's no drone interceptor. But even then, you could argue that the Condor 2 interceptor does its missiles, and that's kind of like drones in the fact that you get the range and that from it. I don't know. You get what I'm saying. Interceptors are just way too overpowered at the moment. Yes, we need more frigates at tech level 10 anyway. We need things like the Rifter and the Tristan. We need other assault frigates at tech level 10. We also need things like the E-War frigates, the Crucifier, the Vigil, the Griffin, even the Maulus, stuff like this at tech level 10, possibly even things like the Burst. There's a lot of new frigates that needed to be added at tech level 10, and in fairness, the tech level 10 and the tech level 8 interceptors still need nerfs, and the assault frigates at tech level 7 need buffs. The assault frigates should be doing a lot more DPS than they're doing, and probably be a bit more tanky as well, but hey, there's a lot we could go into there that's outside the scope of this video. Anyway, back to the question. It would be helpful for battleship pilots that can use close-ranged weapons, especially Galente pilots. Wilson responds, yes, currently there are already rigs that can change the explosion velocity of missiles. We'll consider adding rigs that can change the tracking speed of turrets, as well as ones that can modify optimal ranges. These will be released together with the first wave of capital ships. And oh boy, Benzie rant incoming. Okay, so you are a frigate pilot. You want to fly something that's not an interceptor, maybe a destroyer. You might want to fly something like an assault frigate or a faction frigate and things like this. You are going to go out and try some PvP. Already, things like the Stabber Fleet issue, which is a Tech 6 ship, are a potent threat to your Tech 10 frigate. Now you want to have a rig that can increase the tracking speed more? Like, if you've ever seen Vetamune flying a Stabber Fleet issue, the last thing that needs is a rig to give it more tracking. Like, genuinely, that is just going to utterly remove frigates from the game. Now, I'm not saying that I'm against this. I do think that having a rig that increases your tracking speed would be helpful for battleship pilots, but at the same token, there is a kind of rock, paper, scissors system at play in EVE Echoes that is already broken. It has always been that basically battleships take out battle cruisers and cruisers. Cruisers are excellent at taking out other cruisers and battle cruisers and vice versa, and they're good at taking out destroyers. Frigates are very good against things like battle cruisers and battleships because they're meant to be fast. They don't do much damage, but in a swarm they're very hard to hit and they can take down something bigger than themselves. What we're getting here in this question is, hey, I fly a battleship and I hate the fact that I can't kill everything. Please make it so that I can kill everything. And I am massively against that because it is just power creep. It's just the bigger ship wins, and that is shit. I'm gonna swear in this video, it's that annoying for me. Like, no, we already have a situation where destroyers are useless because medium weapons are too good. If you don't need... The whole point of a destroyer is that in EVE Online, a destroyer and a cruiser have very similar DPS. Like, a Stabber might have, say, 1,000 DPS, and a Thrasher will have 950 DPS. Yes, it's genuinely that close. The concept, though, is that the Stabber will not hit frigates. Like, with how short-range webs are in EVE Online, and how poor the tracking is on medium weapons, they will really struggle to hit frigates that are like 11 or 12 kilometers out, because webs stop at 10 kilometers. So, you have a situation where the medium ships can't deal with the frigates. Therefore, destroyers come in. They're slightly less DPS than the cruisers, but they can actually apply all of that to the frigate. Whereas that 1,000 DPS Stabber can only do, say, 400 DPS to the frigate, the 950 DPS Thrasher can do all of that to the frigate. It makes it a much better frigate killer. The downside is that obviously the Thrasher is a lot smaller, it can't fit medium tanking modules, it is therefore a lot more fragile. That's how things work. We now currently in EVE Echoes have a situation where tier 6 cruisers are more than capable of handling any small ship in the game on their own, if they know what they're doing. You then go up to something like a battle cruiser, like the Hurricane. If you give a Hurricane a couple of webs, medium autocannons, and then give it a tracking rig like this, or heck, even just tracking computers, which are already a thing in the game, you can now deal with frigates. You can now deal with any ship that is battlecruiser or smaller. And If you don't see that as a problem, I don't know what to say here. Like, to me, that is a humongous issue. It's one of the big parts that makes destroyers so useless. I do think that medium weapons probably should do a little bit more damage, but they need their application and their tracking nerfed. You need it so that those medium weapons actually require rigs like this in order to hit faster moving targets. And if you can rig a battleship to hit large turrets, if you've got something like a Megathron using large snub-nosed railguns, and you can rig that to hit bloody frigates with it, that to me is a problem. That to me is a huge problem, because that essentially removes frigates from the game. What is the point in flying a frigate if every single ship in the game has the capability of taking it out? Like, there is no point. And then why would you go for cruisers that can can deal with frigates but can't deal with the battleships? You wouldn't. Why go for a battle cruiser that can deal with cruisers and frigates and destroyers but can't deal with battleships? You wouldn't. Everyone becomes a battleship pilot. It basically becomes a rush to see who can fly the biggest, baddest battleship, and you lose every single bit of versatility in the game. I am all for them adding these tracking rigs. I think having a rig that increases tracking speed on turrets would be awesome. I think something that would increase the explosion velocity and reduce the explosion radius of missiles would be awesome. I think here the ones that increase the optimal range of turrets would also be awesome. Rigs like this are fantastic, but we also need to nerf the mediums to actually make that worthwhile. Right now, if you're looking at taking your battleship and being able to deal with every single ship in the game, I think that's a problem, and I am massively against that. I do apologise to whoever asked this question. If you're watching this video, I'm not ripping it out of you. I'm ripping it out of the concept that a battleship should innately be able to take care of any single ship in the game. I'm massively against that, because it reduces the capability, not just of it would remove my playstyle. Genuinely, if that happens, I leave Eve Echoes. Not as a threat. I'm not sitting here trying to say, oh, well, if you do this, I'm going to quit, so don't do it. I'm saying there's no point for me to play anymore, because I don't want to fly battleships. If you make this a game about who can fly the biggest, baddest battleship, I don't want to play it. That's not the game I signed up for. We need nerfs already to medium weapons, and if you're going to massively buff large weapons to the point that even medium weapons become unnecessary, well, I don't know what to say. Anyway, let's move on, because that's depressing me. Third question. Please add in-game voice chat to fleets. It's a pain to use third-party software for it. It's really inconvenient quitting game, or when I minimise I get disconnected, to join fleet for 15 or defend our space activity. Yeah, I kind of get this. Now, here Nero says, we've looked into the possibility of introducing Discord voice chat in the game and discussed it with our engineers. The conclusion is that this would take quite a long time to implement. We have received a lot of good suggestions, and our focus will be on optimizing the combat experience of massive battles and also making a public game API available to the community. So whoa. First things first, API is still on the table. API is still coming, and if you don't know what API is, I'm not a coder by any stretch here, but essentially the idea of this, I think API is access point interface. I'm going to get crucified in the comments if I've got that wrong, but the idea is that it's sort of a public bit of coding that other people can hook into. Like in EVE Online, you've got websites like .lan that hook into EVE Online's API, and they can be used to showcase where people have died recently, so you can not only see the maps and see how sovereignty is shifting on the maps of the different systems in EVE Online without having to open up the game, you can also see which systems have got ships exploding in. So like we have in the game, you can actually plan a route using an outside game tool. You can also get things like kill boards, and there is Z kill board where you can go and actually have a look at who's been blowing up who. That hooks into the game's API, and there are market tools where you can view what's been selling on the market and how well different things have been doing. There's a lot of stuff that API can do, and that's very, very exciting. I know there's a lot of people who've been looking for that for a long time, and sort of, I think we're beginning to lose hope that it would ever come. The devs have said it would come. We haven't heard about it for a long time. It's not an easy thing to do. Obviously, they've been focusing on getting like the game itself up and running, and just as things are really beginning to ramp up here for August, it looks like that's back on the table as something they can do now that all that content is, due to be released, and they've got a bit of time on their hands to actually sit and work on these not quite so necessary additions, I think. Now, they also mention here they're looking to optimize the combat experience of massive battles, which is pretty cool, and I get where they're coming from here. Now, obviously, I'm in a fairly large alliance, and I know a lot of folks are capable of running voice comms outside of the game whilst they're playing. And that's people who are playing on their phone. You can either have like a laptop or computer near you and you're running Discord on that while you sit at your phone. A lot of people do run Discord in the background on their phone whilst playing the game. I personally can't do this because our bandwidth or the internet here in Zimbabwe is not sufficient to support that, and it just lags out and crashes absolutely everything. My device is more than powerful to do it. I've got, 12-16 gigs of RAM on this thing, so it's not that. It is just our internet bandwidth just crashes out and it just disconnects all the time. So yeah, we've got that. So I personally would like to see this as something that we do get in-game. I think that would benefit me, certainly, an awful lot, and I get that there are a lot of other people who may not have a device capable of running the game and Discord side by side for this kind of thing, and I get that. That sucks. There is in-game chat, and it's not exactly ideal. I've been in fleets where everyone else is in voice comms, and I'm just in the chat, and I'm sort of going, guys, where are we going? Guys, where are we going? They're like, oh, crap, we forgot to tell Benzie. Let's type it in chat as well. It's a hassle. It is a hassle. The communication tools in an MMO are always a very important aspect of it. That said, there aren't many games that I know of that have inbuilt voice comms, and there are problems with inbuilt voice comms. What happens if people start swearing at you or charging homophobic slurs? We've got an in-game chat filter, for crying out loud. How do you then get that on voice comms inside the game? And remember, netties can be held liable for any content that is in their game, and that includes you mouthing off over voice comms. So there are difficulties and problems with this. You then need a moderation team, you need a way to record it, and as soon as you sit there and say to people, oh, we're going to be recording what you say, people go, oh, my First Amendment rights. It's like, well, yeah, we're not going to go into that one here. But the point is that ultimately, there's a lot of work to get voice comms added. I really want it added. I think it would be a huge boost for me and many other pilots, but it's not just a simple click and add it. As they say here, there's a lot of work. It's on the table as something to happen in the future, but not yet. I look forward to that one. Finally then, hello, wanted to ask when will the Brutix will have this thermomagnetic storm core? Because I see that the Ferox, Hurricane and Cyclone all have the thermomagnetic cores. Is there a reason why this ship can't get a level 4 nanocore but the other 3 ships can? Again, I know it's not the free ones, but the Brutix does have nanocores. You can build things like the Serpentis Veteran nanocore, the Serpentis NSO nanocore, and that kind of thing for the Brutix. It does have them, it just doesn't have one in the Concord store. But you know what? In the Concord store, I can't get a thermomagnetic storm core for my Slasher, my Thrasher, my Probe, my Talwar, my Korak. I could list literally every ship in the game. There are a lot of ships. Please don't feel that just because you're a Brutix pilot and there's not one for the Brutix that you're left out. There's not one for the Tornado. There's not one for the Naga or the Oracle. There's a lot of ships that don't have these, and I know that kind of sucks. I'm not saying, hey, shut up, get over it. Far from it. I get that it sucks. I have a frigate main, a frigate and destroyer main. I have gone through 2 passes now where the highest thing I can get for them is a blue out of a box. The Monsoon nanocores, the Monsoon 2s, are actually really, really nice, and I'm enjoying that, but it's taken the second battle pass to get there, and they're still not purple ones. They don't really get that. In fact, I'm thinking about it now, and I don't think there is like a Thrasher Angel NSO core, is there? The NSOs only really start at a higher level. So yeah, the small ships just get crapped out completely when it comes to these. But as Lance here says, every single nanocore takes some time to produce, so it's hard to ensure that each type can cover all ships. For future Concord passes, we'll prioritise ships that do not have nanocores yet, and they did a lot of work on that between the first and the second one. Look how many different nanocores we have this time, and how those stats are actually better. As a key point, people think that, it's just, you've just got to literally tick a box and bam, it's there on that. No, it's got a skin aspect to it, and that takes time to apply to the actual thing itself and to the model of the ship. You need to make sure that that's all seamless, that it applies properly. Remember, nanocores have editing parts as well, so you've got the issue that not only are you applying a skin, you're applying an editable skin, and you need to make sure that it actually displays properly. We had display issues with the nanocores that currently exist in the game that have only recently been fixed. So there is a lot of work that goes into actually making a nanocore fit a ship. It's not just, we type in thermomagnetic storm nanocore, we invent it, and then we just go, it's a Brutix, so it needs the railgun ones, and click done. It doesn't work like that. There's a lot more work behind it. I'm glad to see that we will be getting those in the future. As I said, as someone who flies frigates and destroyers, I would love to see some more of those. I know that, like, even my bellicose covert ops, those don't have thermomagnetic storm nanocores. None of the cruisers have thermomagnetic storm nanocores. There are several missing battle cruisers. I think there's possibly even some battleships that don't have them. So I don't know. I'm still waiting for even things like the faction versions as well. I would love to have a thermomagnetic storm nanocore for my worm or for my Drumiel. It might actually make them, you know, that little bit better and worth flying. The Drumiel specifically, the worm, I'm actually having a lot of fun with recently. But it's time. It's time, and we've just got to wait for these to be added. And I'm glad to see that they're saying, yes, we are prioritising ships that don't have nanocores yet in future updates, which is pretty sweet. Anyway, that is the end of this week's developer Q&A. Apologies for that little rant in the middle there about medium turrets and large turrets and tracking and things like that. Just, that's a bit of a hits home topic that generally, you know, I've wanted to do a video on that for a while. I'm not sure if my little rant here is everything I wanted to say. Maybe I'll do a bonus video at some point where I sit down and actually explain exactly what my thoughts are regarding destroyers and medium weapons and game balance and just stuff like that. Maybe I'll shove up like an AMA on the Catskull Discord, and you folks can ask me all of these questions of what do I think about Eve Echoes, what do I think about this, like a dev Q&A, but a sort of a Benzie direct version. If you're interested in that, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll open up a channel, and we can do that as a bonus video some point in the future, sort of an Ask Benzie Anything, an ABA. There we are, ABBA, but not the weird, like, Swedish one. Anyway, folks, that about covers everything. Thank you to everyone who asked those questions today. Again, I know I've ripped it out of a couple of them. I don't mean to rip it out of the people asking the question. I'm just giving my thoughts and opinions here. Respect to everyone has their own thoughts and opinions as well. You may agree with me, you may disagree. That's what the comment section down below is for. I look forward to chatting with you guys down there as always. Thanks for watching right the way to the end, folks. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.